If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon, link is in the description.
Chapter 1, and so it begins. They say the world will end not with a bang, but with a whimper. Unfortunately for me, mine ended with a bang. Well, that is, if you qualify a godly mistake as a bang. You know how it goes by now. Random omnipotent being or rob drops lighting on a poor kid or accidentally sends truck-kun to grab your soul or mistakes you for another person and kills you early. Well, all of those happened to me. Got struck by lightning while crossing the street and truck-kun decided to pay a visit a few minutes after. I guess lying on the middle of a crosswalk passed out on a rainy day didn't help truck-kun spot me. All because I had the same name as a guy who was insulting Rob. But to be honest, it isn't so bad. Thanks to that I am now standing in front of an apologetic God and not in endless torture because he caught his mistake last second. And you know what comes next? Oh. Well, this is awkward, an eternity living and I can't believe it actually happened to me. All the other gods are gonna start making fun of me now. Even after I made fun of them because of it, I have done the same. Well, kid, today is your lucky day. You get to be reincarnated. Let's get this out of the way as fast as I can so I can try to hide this before anyone finds out. So tell me, which world do you want to be reincarnated in? Oh, I guess you're still in shock from dying. Let me fix that. Here, I'll make it so you're calm-minded as a freebie until I reincarnate you. Oh, thanks? What do you mean which world? Any world? Do I get wishes? Cheat powers? Yes, any world, anime, game, TV, etc. Any will do. As for cheats or wishes, no can do. I'll just give you the chance to reincarnate as whomever you want, maybe give you a small favor but only something pretty minor. Well, in that case, I want to be Rimuru Tempest. Just after he was reincarnated into a slime. But please, allow me to have my little brother when I become human. I do not wish to be a genderless slime. If that is it, then I see no problem with that. Goodbye. Intermission. I can't see. I can't hear. Where am I? The last thing I remember is, oh. Great Sage, are you there? Understood. Skill Great Sage is present. Awesome, I can't believe it is really true. Alright, it is time to get ready. Sage, please assist me to feel the magicules in the area to create the skill Magic Sense. Understood. Analyzing magicules. Extra skill Magic Sense acquired. Use skill. Yes please. And suddenly I was overwhelmed. Bright colors and such a clear sight I was not used to in my previous life. If it wasn't for Sage, it would probably take me a few hours to days to be able to process all this information with enough skill to move without feeling sick, but integration of Magic Sense with the skill Great Sage has been successful. Information will now be processed by Great Sage. That notification was enough to make my sight clear. Alright, time to get to eating as many hypocute herbs and magi steel as possible. Intermission. Without being blind, gathering materials and heading towards Veldora was as easy as it could be. Using a minimap provided by the oh-so-gracious Sage, I made my way deeper until I came across something, or well, someone quite terrifying. Unless you knew how he actually was. To tell the truth, meeting a dragon for the first time was both awesome and terrifying. I am sure that if I had a proper digestive system I would have struggled to not shit my pants with the aura this dude was releasing. Nevertheless, approached the big dragon and next thing I knew I had a new buddy. Howdy my good fellow, fancy seeing you here. To think I would meet someone else in this cave. To tell ya the truth buddy, it's been quite boring and lonely to wander around this cave without knowing the exit. Though I did have a good day playing in the water on the way here. Are you not scared of me? Bwah-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha, a mere slime is staring right at me Veldora and dares to call me buddy. Bwah-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. Has the world truly forgotten me? Oh well, slime, tell me, do you intend to become my friend? And just like that I had made a new friend. I took a potato dragon and ate it and got ready to leave the cave. Of course, having some snacks on the way out in the form of bats, snakes, and spiders. I could not wait to go outside. Eat some monsters. Gain some abilities. Build a kingdom. Get a harem. Do some. Understood. Rimuru Tempest is a typical harem-seeking virgin. Yo Sage. If you don't chill by the time you evolve enough to get a body, you ain't getting the D. Skill Great Sage is trying to forcefully evolve. Request failed. Request failed. Request failed times 1,000,000,000,000. Understood. Skill Great Sage will chill. Request failed. Skill Resist Cold has evolved into Null Cold. Null Cold has merged with Resist Heat to create Null Temperature. Anyways, as I was listening to Great Sage talking and I was standing next to the door to exit the cave. And now we wait. Chapter 2, Meeting Goblins, Taming Wolves. Well, the wait wasn't that long. I guess when a giant storm dragon disappears you probably want some quick response time. In just a few hours of hanging around the door I saw a small group of adventurers enter the cave. And in that group there was one person that stood out. The beautiful elven girl who was disguised as a human, Ellen. Yup, I definitely made the right choice by choosing this world. I can see the bright future ahead of me. Anyways, since I do not yet have a human form it might not be a great idea to show myself, so I guess I will just have to sneak by the door onto the outside world. And the moment I stood outside I was amazed. The thing with magic sense is that it is not just any regular sight. It allows you to see more than any human eyes could see, and what I saw was currents of magicules gushing out of the cave. It looked like a miniature aurora borealis. Alright Sage, it is time for us to find some goblins and create what will become the mightiest kingdom in the world. Understood. Magic Sense Scan has started. Approximate location of life forms is 1.5 miles west of current location. Let's go. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore. I can speak, I can speak. Testing 1 2 3. And while doing my speech practice I headed straight to where I could find some goblins. Oh great mighty lord, why have you come to our humble village? We request you to please not destroy us, for we are just mere goblins. Alright Sage, Operation First Impression has been successful, time to hide the magicules. And just like that I went from a monster releasing an aura full of magicules to your average everyday slime. No worries my dear friends. My name is Rimuru Tempest, and I have come here as a friend of the Great Storm Dragon. And I intend to unite and protect the monsters from this great forest. Now if you lead me to your village I may start with your village so that it may become a great kingdom in the future. Not gonna lie, I cringed a little because of the words coming out of my mouth, but if I trust my gut this is the way to go with the monsters that are in the forest. And well, what is a little cringe when I can earn the respect and loyalty of the people? At this the goblins froze. Not a word came out from their mouths. And just as I began to worry that I may have just perhaps overdone it a bit I saw small tears begin to form on their eyes. It can't be. A protector who will make a mighty kingdom from our village. Is this the one who we have hoped would save us from our misery? Please follow us, O great Sir Rimur. We shall take you to the village chief and he shall discuss things with you. Oof, could have been a close call. Maybe I will need to speak a bit more normally to them in the future, but looking at them, I think it is too late for now. After a few minutes of walking we arrived at a crappy little village. With buildings that were barely holding together. I wonder how long they would have lasted if Rimuru had never arrived here in the original story. A few of the goblins went ahead of me to gather everyone, and in a few minutes I had a small group of goblins at my feet. Or well, blob. Body? The feet equivalent of a slime. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't a bit uncomfortable in front of them. Imagine a bunch of green children kneeling in front of you. Some of which have wrinkles. Cough cough. I'm sure some of you are wondering why you are gathered here. Well, I am here to assist you in growing and becoming stronger. As those words leave my mouth I release my magicules for a second so those who hadn't felt them felt inspired, and to do so I will have to give you names. I hope you don't disappoint me, and I hope we can work together to build a better future. Show me with your hard work that your names will be well deserved. With those words a cheer erupted from them. It seemed as nothing could ruin their day until... Oh! Wolf howls could be heard in the distance. A trace of fear in their faces which was quickly replaced by determination. It was still daytime, which meant we had a few hours before they would attack. More than enough for Spider Slime to prepare a good OL trap. It seems your names will have to wait until the morning. I don't want to risk going to sleep or not having enough magicules before the fight. I'll fight this for you, but after you evolve you must practice your fighting techniques. I won't be here every second of every day. With the help of Great Sage I could probably build some semi-stable houses if I used my analysis skill, but I shouldn't destroy the houses if I can help it. After all I had to do was eat some trees and then make some spikes in my stomach to force the wolves to come from just one direction. After dining on some fine greenery a fence made of spikes was placed around the village. And when the wolves started to survey before their attack they realized that only one way was safe to enter. Father, My instincts are screaming this is dangerous. And the demon that we felt during our hunt this morning. I can smell his presence on that village. I think we should retreat for now. Have you gone mad? We are the dire wolves. We do not fear mere goblins. We consume them. And soon enough everything in this forest will be ours for the taking. We will not cower in fear. With those words, the wolves charged towards the entrance where a singular blue slime stood firm. Oh? So you're approaching me. I can't eat you without getting closer, howled the wolf leader. You took the words from my mouth. I hope dogs don't mind a bit of water. As the wolf leader led the charge, he was lucky enough to have the moon reflecting from the threads for a split second. Which was enough for him to see an opening. It's a trap. Everyone stop, I shall take care of this slime, and once we make our way in we can cut through the threads. As soon as those words left his mouth he jumped through a small gap in the threads and straight at Rimuru. And just as he was a few feet away everything went dark. Sweesh. And just like that the wolf was dead. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, that was close. See, this is why great leaders delegate. You let your people build a fence and you build the slime web. Lesson learned. Anyways, time for dinner. Skill keen smell has been acquired. Skill thought communication has been acquired. Skill intimidation has been acquired. Mimicry dire wolf has been acquired. I turned into a dire wolf and combined with the use of intimidation I screamed. Your leader has fallen. Submit or die, just as he has. One by one all the wolves bowed down and one of them, who had a star-shaped mark on his forehead, spoke for them. We pledge our allegiance to you. All right, time to call it a night and get ready for the naming tomorrow. Author's note. Hello there everyone, just finished making some plans at least for the early chapters till around chapter 10-ish. Story changes will start appearing either next chapter or the one after that. I have thought up of a few new things I am excited to write about and know that it can get annoying if it's just a copy-paste of the original work, so I'll try my best to build my own story. I am currently in volume 10 of the light novel, so that's about how much information I have while I write this, though I am catching up. If you see that R18 tag and are curious when that will happen, I think it should be in 2 chapters in the Dwarven Kingdom. I do plan for him to have a body, so look forward to it. If you have any ideas or tips, let me know either in a paragraph comment or just in the regular comments. THRE is no guarantee that I'll use it, but I appreciate it either way. I don't want to spoil what's gonna happen, but I think it will be pretty cool. See ya. Chapter 3, Naming and a New Form. Now I had a plan for naming. I would name the wolves first, as they would take the most magicules, and then slowly name the rest of the goblins so that I do not go into sleep mode. I had a couple plans on a deadline. First of all, the ogre village. I had to make sure it wasn't destroyed. Not just because Kaijin girls are beautiful. But every single one of the ogres that survived the attack ended up becoming massive powerhouses. Imagine how much of a strength boost it would be to have a whole village of ogres who evolved into Kaijin. Though the naming process would have to wait until after I gain the skill to generate for better evolved skills. Naming them with my current skills would be a wasted potential. As for Shizu, I wanted to save her. But I wasn't sure if she wanted to be saved. I had a plan I had run through Great Sage that could potentially restore her body to health and youth, however it would be her choice. I do not want to force her decision. If my estimates were correct, I had around a month before Shizu arrived. And since the ogres arrived a few days after Shizu had died, it meant I had less than a month to convince the ogres to join me and stop the orcs from killing most of them. And if I wanted to convince them of joining me, well, maybe they would be more convinced if my village wasn't barely standing. I guess I should head to the Dwarven Kingdom first and bring back the Dwarven builders. Well, let's begin with the names. For the new leader of the Dire Wolves, I give you the name Ranga. I felt the magicules leave my body, and at that moment I realized how much Rimuru had messed up by naming them last. Great Sage, how many goblins can I name and still be at a safe magicule count to name the rest tomorrow without going into sleep mode? Understood. The current magicules allow for naming 52 of the 80 goblins. With 10 hours of rest, the remaining goblins can be safely named. Chief, come here and bring me your son. Yes, Lord. What was the name of your son who has passed? Rigur, sir. From now on your name is Rigurd. And your son, his name shall be Rigur. Thank you so much, sir, we will never forget this kindness. And one by one I started naming the goblins. Gobone, Gobtwo, Gobtra, Gob4, Gob5, Gobsai, Gobsafe, Gobei, Gobni, Gobden. The only one who did not receive a name following the numbers was the standout Gobda. He was easy to recognize and I wanted to avoid the confusion of giving him a different name. During the naming breaks I decided to gather information about the surrounding area. The ogre village was around 1 or 2 hours south and the lizard man village was around the same distance east. And as soon as everyone finished evolving I had a realization. Evolving makes everyone so hot. Most hobgoblins, except Gobda, has grown to almost 6 feet and now was ribbed. And all the goblinas had grown to around 5 feet and now had curves in all the right places. Not that their goblin clothing helped at all to hide their skin. Focus Rimuru, focus, you'll have time for this once you ensure 300 ogres aren't annihilated. Regard, we need to go and buy supplies and maybe get a few artisans. Do you have anyone who can take me to the Dwarven kingdom? Yes, Lord Rimuru, Gobda has been to their kingdom before and knows the way. He and my son can accompany you in your journey. All right, we will take some of the wolves to make the journey faster. But first gather everyone around to the center of the village. I have an announcement to make. Hello everyone, I'm sure you are wondering why I have called you all. And well, it is to give a few simple rules. As we grow from a village to a city to a kingdom we will encounter many difficulties along the way. One of them is the fact that we are monsters. But there is a way to prevent the problems before they happen. And that is by being respectful toward everyone. You may think you are stronger because of your evolution, but remember how you used to be before. If you feel the need to protect yourself, do. But do not start conflicts out of nowhere. We will grow and add many races to our city. And for that reason, be nice to each other. That is it. I will be heading to the Dwarven kingdom to collect supplies for a few days. While I am gone, collect supplies to build. And once I am back, let us begin to build our city. Skill Black Lighting and Shadow Step received. Mimicry Dire Wolf has evolved into Mimicry Tempest Wolf. Ranga, you have grown. I have Master, thanks to your kindness me and my pack have grown stronger. That is good to hear. We are heading towards the Dwarven kingdom for a few days in a few hours. And it would be my honor to be your Mount Lord Rimuru. I practiced my skills along the way, made a bit of a commotion, got sent to jail, healed some dwarfs, made some swords. And next thing you know I was entering a Dwarven nightclub called the Night Butterfly. To say that no amount of preparation could have prepared you for the people who were inside. Revealing clothing paired up with their perfect smooth skin and long elven ears. With beauties ranging from legal lowly to a MILF. Great sage, it will work right. Sai understood. Yes, yes it will. In my stupor I got picked up by a blonde, white-skinned mature elf. Wearing a thin green dress. Look at him, such a cute slime. He is just so huggable. What? No, I saw him first. I should be the first one to hug him, said a silver-haired dark-skinned elf. And well, if there was a heaven, I'm sure it would be this. Being squished by a couple of soft breasts almost made me forget my plan. Air. Wait a second. I have a request. Let me tell you. If anything can make you feel vulnerable as being stared by a group of beautiful women with stars in their eyes. Oh my lord, he can talk. I can't believe slimes could get any cuter. Anything for you, my sweetie. Pull yourself together, man, don't embarrass yourself. I want to ask if I can wrap myself around one of you. I have something called mimicry, but it requires me to analyze a body before change. There was a beat of silence before melodious laughter rang around the room. Oh my, who would have thought we would have a perverted slime? Fear not, sister, for I shall sacrifice myself for this just cause, said the blonde elf who had picked me up first. Thank you, I said before quickly enveloping her body. Feeling every single spot, maybe a bit more than I needed to. She let out a little moan and the next second I had separated and landed on the floor. I took out a big blanket I had prepared for this occasion and the very next moment I began to change. Chapter 5, The Ogre Village. Please read author's note at the end. Arriving back to the camping place we had set up, I was given some surprised looks. I guess I still was in my adult version and they had yet to see me this way. Hello guys. I said as I returned to my normal form. Wait. How did you do that? One of the dwarves asked. Oh that, it's just something I can do. Anyways, you guys should get ready to sleep. I'll keep watch. We should be arriving tomorrow. Arriving into the village, I could see the changes that had happened in the few days that I had been gone. Bundles of wood and resources gathered ready for use. And a few goblins coming and going with their wolf companions getting ready to hunt or returning from hunting. And as I got close I could see the large group of goblins waiting near the center. Lord Rimuru called from a distance, "We have visitors. 500 goblins from other villages who heard of your fight and conquest of the dire wolves." The village's expansion was a good thing. So I welcomed them with open arms, and after spending 10 days naming them all, I left them with instructions on building, farming, and hunting. These past 10 days I have been quite busy. I asked Dord to make some clothes like the one Rimuru got after he became a demon lord, and now I had style points. I was able to ask her in what spells she knew and learned a few simple spells. Skill earned, earth molding. Skill earned, wind steps. Skill earned, air slash. Skill earned, light. Skill earned, clean. They were pretty self-explanatory. Earth molding allowed me to control some of the ground in the area to make small adjustments. Wind steps made me faster. Air slash did, well, an air slash. Light created a small ball of light. And clean cleaned a small area. With the analysis skills of Great Sage I realized how amazing a mage I would be. Once I took the kids to Ramiris for their spirits. I would make sure to get as many element spirits as I could to analyze the elements and gain the elemental affinities. I was getting ready to leave toward the ogre village until I was stopped by Lena. We had gotten really close since that day in the forest. We were that typical couple who was dating but wasn't official yet. While I practiced my skills in preparation for the trip, she was there keeping me company. While I was busy giving names, she followed Rigurd's direction in ways she could help around the village. She was really energetic and ready to work, which always helped motivate the other goblins to work harder. We had actually gotten a bit more done than expected thanks to her. With how fast everything had happened, I did have to ask Great Sage the question. "Sage, did the skill Predator's Charm take effect on her?" "Understood. Yes, it does appear that the skill had taken effect on her the moment you started your mimicry. Though it was only for a second, it was enough to light a small fire which she eagerly fed until it became a bright fire. My analysis has deduced that she has been looking for a Prince Charming, and she decided that that prince was you. Now that the skill has been properly deactivated, any mimicry you do now won't affect the one who you gain your mimic form from if you do not want it to." "Whoa, Sage, that is quite the way to put it. Have you ever thought about becoming a poet?" "Understood. I have no desire to write poetry. If you excuse me, I am quite busy analyzing the unlimited imprisonment skill." I chuckled a bit. I guess even wise sages can get embarrassed. "So it is time for you to leave?" Lena asked. "Yes, I must make it to the ogre village. I have a skill that alerts me of dangers, and I can feel that I have about 2 weeks before something big happens in this forest that will stop me from helping a lot of people. I know that if I go to the ogres I can help them. You know, there are only about 300 of them left in the forest. It would be a shame if their lives were lost when I know I could save them." "Sigh, I understand. But please promise me that you will stay safe, okay?" "I promise. And don't worry, I will only be gone for 10 to 15 days tops. I'll be back before you can even say pneumon ultramicroscopic silicovolcaniconiosis." "What?" she said after a small laugh. "Exactly." After a short kiss I left the village. This time I travelled only with Ranga. A trip that did not take as long as I had thought. I guess Ranga was trying to go as fast as possible to impress me, because we got to the village in just under an hour. Once the gate was in view, Ranga slowed down and walked towards the gate so that they would not see us as enemies. Once I was close enough to the gate, I transformed into my elven form and let Ranga jump into my shadow. The village appeared to be one surrounded by trees, with medium-sized houses that could fit in any fantasy starting village. Image here. A burly ogre with dark, slightly graying hair was standing at the door. "Halt, with what business do you come to the ogre village?" "I come with very important news. There is great danger coming this way. I must speak to your village chief as soon as possible." As soon as I let out those words, I flashed my magicule for a second so that they could feel that I was not a weakling they could push around. Ogres, while strong monsters, were only ranked B. A if they were the strongest of their kind. The Tempest serpent I had easily killed before I left Veldora's imprisonment cave was rank A. The magicules I showed were enough to guess that if I really wanted to I could force my way in. "Ah. Just 1 second, sir, I shall send a message as fast as I can." Quickly passing the message to another guard nearby, he stared awkwardly at me until someone with higher authority arrived. And in just a few minutes a very familiar face appeared. Medium-sized red hair, with red skin, and 2 black horns in his forehead. This was no other than the ogre who would later become Benimaru. "Follow me, I shall take you to the chief's house." The houses may have looked plain on the outside, but the inside clearly showed the Japanese heritage of the ogres from the people they had rescued in the distant past. If you have ever seen a Japanese house, then you can get a close idea of what their house looked like. That is, if you remove most of the technology and plumbing. Sitting in front of me on the floor with a small table in front of me was who I assume was the village chief. Surprisingly, it appeared Shana had gotten her pink hair from him. A handsome face and long hair that reached his waist. With a cream-colored skin and crimson-red eyes which had markings near them. 2 big black horns on his forehead. Standing behind him was the ogre who would become Hakuro. Old wrinkled white skin. And long white hair. He appeared to be ready to protect his leader at a moment's notice. And so, the conversation began. Chapter 6, The Orcs Who Attacked the Ogre Village. I've heard you come with important news. May I hear what they are? Your village is in grave danger. Tens of thousands of orcs are headed in this direction. And they are being led by an orc lord. I believe you should evacuate before it is too late. The village leader's face instantly turned grim. He looked towards the white-haired ogre behind him and asked him to join the table as an advisor. What do you think about the situation? I know that our people are strong. But even if we are stronger than orcs, our village can't take a direct fight with more than 3,000 orcs at maximum. And not only are they coming in the tens of thousands, but they are also being led by an orc lord. My friend, I know your character discerning skills are better than mine. So, do you think we can trust this elf? A decision like this cannot be taken lightly. It would mean abandoning our homes. The white-haired ogre nodded and looked towards me. Tell me, why did an elf come out of his way to warn us about this danger? What do you expect in return for this favor? In truth, I hope for the ogres to join my village. I want to build a kingdom where monsters and magic-born can prosper. I know the strength us all have the potential to hold and want to stop us from being seen as inferior beings. I want to be able to grow a nation strong enough to be able to live in peace. Because in this world, if you are not strong, you are fated to become a puppet or die. In the end, I just want peace. That is why I must have the strength to protect it. Things are headed in a direction in which if no one steps in, the world will end in the hands of some madman or worse. And as for me being an elf, I hope you don't underestimate my strength by my form. My name is Rimuru Tempest and I am a slime. I turned into a slime for a second and then returned to my elf form. As for what benefits I can provide you, I promise a safe environment, a new village to be a part of. I can transfer all of your possessions with me so you won't have to abandon anything on your move. This new village that is currently being built will compare to the grand human cities and even surpass them with time. I can promise you that with my life and pride. Even though the construction is only just starting, I have great artisans helping me. And last, I promise to name all of the ogres in the village. I can only name 5 ogres a day, so it will take some time, but soon all of you will receive names. All I require is your loyalty. Silence filled the room. The white-haired ogre looked at the village chief and said, I don't feel lies in his speech. I believe he truly does mean what he says. In that case, I cannot risk the fate of my people. We shall evacuate towards your village. I can't say I accept your deal yet, as I have to consider the fate of my people. And the fact you say you are willing to name all of the ogres is a bit unbelievable. But I thank you for your warning and assistance. If for some reason we decide not to stay in your village, I will find a way to return the favor. I understand. In that case, let's get to work. We should have a few days left before the orcs arrive. A few days had passed since my arrival to the village. The news came as a shock to all the ogres in the village. And a few even believed I might have been deceiving them. However, they decided to place trust in their chief. Even with me storing the possessions of the ogres in the village in my stomach, a few preparations still had to be made before transporting so many people through a forest. And on the very day we were set to leave, a few ogre scouts, led by a familiar blue-haired ogre, came running to the chief. Chief. Rimuru spoke the truth. There is an army or orcs approaching our direction. We have to start our evacuation now, or else they will catch up to us. They are going with incredible speed, destroying anything in their path. All right. Everyone. It is time to leave. We have confirmed the presence of orcs and they are approaching at incredible speed. We must leave now in order to live to fight another day. Rimuru. The old white-haired ogre said. With so many people walking in the same direction, the orcs will be able to follow our tracks easily. Sigh, I was expecting this. I will stay back to hold them off. I summoned Ranga from my shadow. Ranga will show you the way. Don't worry, I will catch up sooner than you think. But Lord Rimuru, I must stay near you to protect you. Ranga. Do you think I am so weak that I will get myself killed? Follow my order and lead the ogres. That way I will be able to fight all out without having to worry for their safety. Understood, my lord. Ranga went to the front of the group and began to lead the ogres away. As I got ready to head off to the orcs' location, the village chief, the white-haired ogre, a purple-haired ogre who I knew would become Shin, and a group of 27 ogres stayed behind with me. As the village chief, I cannot allow you to fight all by yourself. I chose 29 willing ogres to stay and fight for the village with me and you. I appreciate your help, but I please ask you to allow me to do the first attack. I have a strategy in mind to deal with a majority of them. We understand. Let's go as soon as we can to buy as much time as possible. We reached a big field in the forest and spotted the 10,000 orcs approaching our way. It's a bit of a shame, really. They are only doing this because they are starving. I wish I could stop them in another way, but until I stop the orc lord who has cast the skill, I guess this is the only way to end their hunger. I grew wings out of my back and flew near the orcs. They had spotted me and a few had started to head my way, but in the end it was useless. This would all end quickly. Tsunami. Using control water, I released all of the water I had stored in my stomach. Enough to fill a medium-sized lake. The impact of getting hit by a lake's worth of water propelled forward with the use of control water was certainly enough to cause some damage. However, I was not done yet. Black lightning. Lightning flew from my hands and struck the water repeatedly, instantly striking the water and electrifying all who were in it. In just a few seconds, over 3/4 of this army had been killed. Suddenly he dropped down from the sky and landed on the wet field. Using water control, he launched his last attack. Water Blade Barrage. Suddenly all the water in the ground rose up and created 100 water blades, each of them launching at top speed toward the remaining orcs. And, with the blades being able to cut through tens of orcs before losing enough power to not be lethal, the battle was quickly over. Damn, this is more exhausting than naming goblins. Looking around, he saw the piles of corpses. With a sad look, he said, I hope they at least get to rest in peace. Chapter 7, The Conqueror of Flames. Water Control. I brought back all the water I had thrown out and consumed it again. The only reason I was able to defeat them all so easily with the amount of magicules I had at the moment was because I had brought all the water with me. Had I created the water with magic, I probably would have run out of magicules by the time I defeated only a quarter of them. I saw the ogres approaching me in the distance. By the way they were walking towards me and their blank expressions, I could tell they were in shock. They probably expected to lose their lives in a long drawn-out fight to give their families enough time to escape. Well, it is no use crying over spilled milk. I might as well eat the orcs to gain some skills and recover my magicules. Might even increase my current capacity. Turning into a slime, I used Predator on the fallen orcs. My body became longer to eat as many as I could at once. And even though not all of the orcs had special skills, you are bound to get a few who do when you are eating 10,000 of them. You have obtained the skill Enhanced Strength. Increases your natural strength. You have obtained the skill Feral Roar. Let out a roar that can lower the selected target's morale. You have obtained the skill Rallying Cry. Let out a cry that can increase the morale and strength of allies. Increases the target's natural teamwork for a short time. You have obtained the skill Libido. Bring out the lust in your body. Increases chance of impregnation. Lowers loss of magicules when a child has been made. You have obtained the skill Horrible Scent. Allows you to concentrate and create bad-smelling scents. Stun your enemies by attacking their olfactory system. Is that it? Negative. Many other skills were obtained, however, due to them being inferior versions of skills you previously owned and newly gained, they were analyzed and turned into energy that was absorbed. Oh, I guess I can feel that my magicules increased by a fair bit. My thought process was interrupted by the ogres reaching my location. That. I did not expect that, said the village chief. That was amazing, said the familiar purple-haired ogre. All of the ogres who had followed me had one or two congratulatory words. But I had a realization that I had no time to waste. I had to get back to the village as soon as possible. If the orc attack was bound to happen either today or tomorrow, that meant that Shizu must be either in the village or about to enter it. I'm sorry, but I have realized that I am a bit late for an appointment. I shall lead you towards where Ranga is, but after that I gotta go on ahead to reach my village as fast as possible. It is a bit of an urgent matter. We can talk more once all of you arrive at the village. I should be done with it by then. The ogres looked like they had some questions, but looking at my determined face they shut their mouths and nodded. After leading them towards where Ranga was, I dropped them off with their group with Ranga to lead them and left as fast as I could. With the help of Shadow Step and the shadows made by the trees in the forest, I was able to reach the village in half an hour. Just as I was about to enter the village, I saw a small group I recognized running away from some giant ants. And in that group was the person I was looking for. Quickly stepping in, I created some steel threads all around the ant colony, and once they were all trapped I threw some water blades at their heads. The group, seeing what appeared to be a random elf in his early teens, pop out of nowhere and quickly deal with the ants that were causing them so much trouble, were a bit shocked. Kavil and his party were specially surprised that the one rescuing them was an elf due to their elvish background. And Shizu, wearing her mask, was hard to read. "Hello there," I said with a bright smile. "Looked like you were having some trouble there. Wanna come to my village to take a rest? You all looked a bit roughed up from your travels. This forest can be quite hard to go through." Kavil's party looked towards Shizu to see what she would say, and seeing the group asking for her guidance, she stepped forward. "We would appreciate a safe place to rest. My name is Shizu. And these three are Kavil, Ellen, and Giddo. Alright, just a heads up, we are a monster village, but don't you worry, we are friendly monsters. We don't bite." "A village of monsters?" asked Ellen. "Wait, what do you mean by we?" "Oh, about that. I turned into a slime, I'm a slime. But I am not a bad slime, you know." When those words left my mouth, a stifled laughter was heard from Shizu. Though she pretended nothing happened when the party looked at her. "I think we can trust him," she said. "Let's go to his village." Trusting her adventuring knowledge, Kavil's party followed me to my village. Which had changed since the time I had brought the dwarves. Now it actually looked like a proper village. With some small houses made out of logs and the framework for a larger village starting to appear. Turns out when you have 500 plus really motivated workers with brand new evolution muscles, you get a lot done quickly. The villagers seeing me came to greet me, and I requested some of them organize a place for me and the companions to eat some food and to call for Garm and Kaijin to repair the adventurers' equipment. Soon enough we were all seated in a small house and the party began telling me about their travels and their struggles. They were thankful to finally get a moment's rest in this forest. And after food had been eaten, Shizu picked me up as I was still in my slime form and asked if she could talk to me. I of course agreed. Arriving on a small hill on the outskirts of the village, we began to talk. "So, tell me, Mr. Rimuru. Are you also a transmigrator?" Yes I am." "Did my slime joke give it away? I noticed your laughter when I said it." "Yes, I have a friend who really liked to play games before he came here. I think you two would get along well. His name is Yuki Kagurazaka, he is the Grandmaster of the Free Guild." Cough cough. Yeah, I think he sounds like a nice guy." With a small laugh she asked. "Why are you suddenly acting all weird? Don't tell me you have met him before." No, I haven't met him yet. It's just that some guy I used to know back on Earth was named that way, and well. He was certainly very ambitious. Had big dreams, you know. Probably would try to rule the world if he could." Smiling brightly she said, "Is that so?" After a small pause for laughter she kept on talking. "My name is Shizu Izawa. Though I go by Shizu in this world. What is your real name?" "That? Well, if I am being honest, I have left that name behind. I prefer to just be called Rimuru Tempest now. You know, the one and only storm dragon Veldora gave me that name." "Oh, do you know what happened to him? He disappeared from this forest and that caused quite a commotion." "That, we can talk about that later, but you don't have to worry about it, I promise he won't cause any trouble for a long time." Looking at me for a few seconds she decided to give me a pass for now. "In that case, what can you tell me about the world before you came here? I have been in this world for a long time, so it is not often that I get to hear news of my world." Sharing with her through my thought communication, I allowed her to get a picture of what the world was like before I left. To say she was shocked would be quite the understatement, but thanks to this she forgot about my slip of the tongue with Veldora. In the end it was quite a good time spent with both of us. But as I had said before, all good things come to an end. "Shizu, I have a skill called Analyze. And, I can tell what is happening to you. The spirit inside you cannot be contained for too long. Soon enough he will break out." My comment killed the mood, but it had to be said. "So you can tell. I guess I knew this would happen, but I thought I had more time. If I am going to submit to him and lose control of my body so soon, I have a request for you. In the kingdom of Ingracia, in Glazia on the LN, in the Freedom Academy there is a group of kids. They are like us. But they will die soon if we don't help them. Their bodies are not ready to handle their magicules. I have been looking for a way to help them but... Seeing the stressed out Shizu, I interrupted her before she could stress herself out more. I promise. Shizu, there might be a way. A way for me to heal you, remove the spirit inside of you. No, it's useless, I may not look it but I am quite old. The moment I lose Ifrit I will die of old age. My body will not be able to handle the strain of losing Ifrit. Even then, I can help you, I believe I have a way to bring you back to your youth. Creating a copy of Kaigen's sword, I said I could eat your body, and using analyze on it I could, in theory, use your own body as materials to rebuild it. If I do this carefully I could bring your soul back to the newly created body. A younger version, without Ifrit in it if you wanted it. Shizu stared at the sunset for a few minutes. Considering my offer. You said you could eat my body. Will that bring you any benefits? I wanted to be honest. Yes, I could gain your skills. In that case I want you to eat me. But, I don't want you to bring me back. Hey! To tell you the truth, I hold nothing but spite for this world. I can't bring myself to hate it, for I have had many good experiences in it. And I feel the same way about the man who summoned me to this world, Leon Cromwell. Nothing but spite. The only thing keeping me moving forward is the children I used to teach in the Freedom Academy. But I trust you, Rimuru. I can tell you are a good man at heart. So if you can promise me you will try your best to help them, I will be able to finally die. And I don't want to be taken into this world. So please, eat me. You may take my skills as a form of payment if you want to see it that way. But I want to die as myself. I sighed. If that was her wish I could not deny it. I would respect her decision. Great Sage could measure her body and had told me she had around 5 minutes before losing control. I promise. Just before I ate her, a figure jumped from behind a nearby tree. Ellen screamed while running towards Shizu. Shizu! Why didn't you tell us? I am so sorry we forced you to use your skills. If we had been stronger maybe you would have more time, but... It's okay, Ellen. Shizu interrupted her. Please let your party know that I will be okay. I enjoyed the time I got to spend with all of you, and I wish I had enough time to say goodbye, but I can feel it. I don't. So please say goodbye for me. With that she looked at me and nodded. I guess it was time. Activate Predator on the target. Shizue Izawa? Yes. No. Yes. Chapter 8, Using Degenerate. This chapter is going to have a bit of a skill dump due to how many skills I have to fuse and acquire. I'll let you know when it starts, even though it is very clear, so you can skip it if you want to. It is just a necessary evil. Don't worry though, I'll try to make this a rare occurrence. You have obtained the unique skill Degenerate. You have obtained the skill Fire Spirit Magic. Allows the user to use Fire Spirit Magic. You have obtained the skill Spirit Summoning Magic. Summon Greater Fire Spirit, Ifrit. Summon Medium Fire Spirit Salamander. The Greater Spirit Ifrit has been consumed. You have obtained the skill Control Flame. Allows the user to freely manipulate flames using the motion of magicules. You have obtained the skill Combustion. Allows the user to turn any part of their body made of magic violently into flames. You have obtained the skill Replication. Allows the user to create remote-controlled clones of themselves out of magic. The clones have the same strength and skills, except unique and ultimate skills, as the user, but they are significantly less durable and only have the amount of magicules supplied to them upon creation. You have obtained the skill Ranged Barrier. Allows the user to create a barrier in any shape they specify within range. With that out of the way I turned towards Ellen. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. So I turned back to my elvish form and I approached her to give her a hug. That was the final straw for her. She started crying, though her friendship with Shizu might have been a short one, the loss of a friend always hurts. She cried for a few minutes and hugged me tightly. After we separated she said that we should return before the rest of her party worried for us. On the way back I asked her how much of the conversation she had heard. Apparently she had arrived just a few minutes before I had told Shizu I knew about the spirit. She was going to come here to tell us that the food was ready. But, seeing her newly found friend having a moment with the handsome elvish boy, she decided to be a good wingwoman and wait for an appropriate moment to enter the conversation. She asked a few questions about Shizu's problem and I answered in simple ways, not revealing too much information, just enough for there to get a gist of what had happened. During the way back she told me of her trip towards the forest with her party. Her time talking distracted her enough to dry the tears in her eyes. But, the first question Kaval asked seemed to open the floodgates again. "Hey guys, food's ready. Better tell Shizu to come soon, otherwise I'll steal all of her food." Shizu. The tears appeared in her eyes. Shizu won't be able to make it back. Of course this worried the party instantly. They quickly prepared to grab their swords before I stopped them and explained the situation with the help of Ellen. "So you are saying that she was on the verge of losing her powers? And that she decided to give up her life so that she wouldn't lose control?" Giddo asked. The party had noticed Shizu acting a bit distant. They had even noticed her reluctance to use her powers unless absolutely necessary. Even then it all sounded kind of crazy. Had it not been for Ellen's testimony they might not have believed Rimuru. The party decided to call it an early night. While they were heading to bed I took a look at my village. Seeing the smiles of all the hobgoblins gave me joy. The change from a small falling apart village to a village with actual housing and defense. Who could hunt and gather enough food to stay healthy? And who did not feel like they could die at any second? It all brought a smile to my face. To think that this was my village. And that this was only the beginning. Feel free to skip/only read the names of the skills, just make sure to read the last skill given. I'll give an explanation for those interested in skills that aren't self-explanatory. 600 words worth of skills, so yeah, bit of a chunky skill combination session. Sage, how much time do we have until the ogres arrive to the village? Understood. With the approximate rate of travel through the forest with 300 ogres at the pace they had been traveling gives an estimate of 2 hours 17 minutes and 48 seconds. That is enough time for using Degenerate. Now this is where the fun begins. Sage, do your thing. Understood. Beginning use of the skill Degenerate. Combining the skill Control Flame, Flame Transform, and Control Water. Skill Dark Flame, and skill Control Particles have been acquired. Combining the resistances with the skill Ranged Barrier. Skill Multi-Layer Barrier has been acquired. Activating Multi-Layer Barrier as a passive skill. Combining the skill Dark Lightning with the skill Control Particles. Skill Dark Thunder has been created. Combining the sub-skill Mimicry with Degenerate. Skill Universal Shapeshift has been acquired. Combining the skill Predator with Absorb, Dissolve, and Self-Regeneration. Skill Ultra Speed Regeneration has been acquired. Combining the skill Ultrasonic Wave with Magic Sense. Skill Sense Soundwave has been acquired. Combining skill Sense Soundwave with Magic Sense and Sense Heat Source. Skill Universal Sense has been acquired. Combining the skill Universal Sense with Analyze. Skill Superior Analyze has been acquired. An enhanced version of the Analyze skill, somewhere in between Great Sage and Raphael in terms of analyzing capabilities. Using separate on the skill Horrible Smell. Skill Scent Control has been acquired. Allows the user to control the smell and the pheromones that the body produces. Combining the skill Poison Breath and Paralyzing Breath with Control Particles. Skill Particle Breath has been acquired. Allows the user to shoot a gas of any element and with different properties. Example, a fire breath that poisons and burns the target on contact. Combining the skill Replication with the skill Control Particles. Skill Perfect Replication has been created. Allows the user to create replications that can use any skills of the user. However, ultimate skills will be weakened on the clone. Depending on how many Magicules are provided to the replica, it can have an almost indistinguishable strength and durability from the user. Combining the skill Feral Roar with the skill Rallying Cry. Skill Commander's Aura has been acquired. Strengthen your allies and debilitate your enemies. This skill allows the user to release an aura similar yet inferior to that of a king. Combining skills Sticky Thread and Steel Thread with skill Control Particles. Skill Universal Thread has been acquired. Allows the user to create threads with special properties. Example, freezing, burning, paralyzing, calming, etc. Combining all elemental magic into the skill Control Elements. Shadow Step has been enhanced with the skill Control Elements. Skill Shadow Magic and Shadow Travel has been acquired. Analyzing skill Thought Communication. Implementing upgrades. Combining skill with Universal Sense. Skill Shared Mind has been acquired. Combining skill Predator's Charm with the skills Libido and Scent Control. Skill combination failed. Analyzing current skills. Forcefully attempting to combine skills. Combination failed. Analyzing reasons for failure. Adjusting combination method. Forcefully combining skills. Unique skill Eros has been acquired. At that moment I could hear Sage having a realization. Attempting to forcefully evolve skill Great Sage. Evolution failed. Analyzing the reason for failure. Attempting to change parameters for evolution. Evolution failed. Analyzing. It appears that your current body is unsuitable for ultimate skills. Evolution is required in order for your body to have the ability to contain such skills. Recommended path of action is to become a true demon lord. Evolution process is the best time to implement ultimate skills to enhance both magicals and body quality. Good luck. Yikes, all of that gave me a headache. But now that it is out of the way I don't have to worry about combining skills for a while. That last skill, Eros. What does it do? Understood. The unique skill Eros allows the user to command the forces of life and death respectively. The sub-skills are: Resurrect. Allows the user to bring the target back to life. It can also be used for healing. It requires a great affection for the target in order to bring them back to life and for a short time to have passed since death. Invigorate. Allows the user to strengthen both himself and the target through sexual acts. Small acts such as kissing can give a very small boost in lifespan. Big acts, such as having sex, can enhance both the user and the target's magicule count and physical strength. Charm. It makes the user more appealing to anyone who sees, hears, or smells the user. Can be enhanced with magicules to increase its effects. Death Blessing. It allows the user to transform the target's life force into death. The effectiveness of this skill greatly lowers if the user is weaker than the target. Debilitate. Attacks the target with a death-infused attack. It temporarily lowers the target's strength, magicules, defense, and endurance. Effectiveness lowers the stronger the target is from the user. Wow, that skill is kinda broken. I can see how Luminous became so strong and influential with a skill so similar to this. I mean, this is pretty much the same skill as hers. Though I guess the skill Lust was already taken by her, so I got this one. I have some time to practice my skills before the ogres arrive. Let's get to it. Sorry for the gigantic skill dump chapter. I had to get it out of the way, and now that it is done you don't have to worry about chapters like this for a very long time. Had some more things I wanted to write but ran out of time. Check out the timeline chapter and tell me if you find out any mistakes I made. I am using it as a help for writing this story, so it would help me a bunch. I'll update the skills chapter either later today or tomorrow when I upload the next chapter. Check the author's note if you are curious about the Eros skill. See ya. Creator's thoughts. Bon au revoir, bon au revoir. Phew, got the combination out of the way. Took me way longer to come up with all the skill combinations, but I think I did a good job. The skill Eros is practically the same skill as Luminous but with some added sub-skills. Just because a skill isn't unique it doesn't mean it can be the only skill that can have those abilities. Just call it fanfic magic, I guess. I had originally written the skill to be Lust, but I changed it after a few chapters to Eros. Comment. 31 comment. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 9, Intermission Gelmud. Oh shit, you've really done it now. This is why you can't afford to be lazy. Gelmud was having a really bad day. First, Veldora's disappearance had thrown a lot of his plans off, enough for him to make a drastic move and push forward the creation of an orc disaster. Everything was going smoothly from then on. The orcs would advance with their overwhelming numbers and consume both the ogres and the lizardmen. And if that wasn't enough to create a demon lord, there were plenty of goblins and monsters in the forest to feed from. He was so confident in his plans that he had just sent the orcs on their way to the ogres, and once the time came he would meet with them and enjoy the show. He wandered around the forest until he found a miserable lizardman. And since he was having such a good day, with everything now going according to plan, he decided to give it a name. Once he arrived near the destination of the ogre village, he had a bad feeling in his gut. Everything was silent. A bit too silent. He sped up towards the village until he found it. An abandoned village. With its buildings abandoned and without a trace of a struggle. He quickly took out his recording orb and tried to contact the orcs he had sent towards the village. Perhaps their stupid brains got turned around and went in the wrong direction. However, he wasn't able to connect with them. And due to his directions of not activating the recording orbs unless something important was about to happen, as they required a constant supply of magicules on both ends in order to record, he was left with nothing. Now Gelmud was really worried. Clayman was not a forgiving man and he had just made a huge mistake. Even though he had no clue what had happened after flying around the nearby vicinity of the ogre village and not finding a trace of a battle, he would get the blame as this was his responsibility. It doesn't matter, he said with a cold sweat on his back. I bet they are so stupid they just ate themselves on the way here, right? At least I still have the large majority on my side. This is just a mild problem. Solving this is gonna be super easy, barely an inconvenience. I guess I just have to take better care of the rest of the orcs. But wait, that doesn't explain what happened to the ogre village. Taking out his communication orb, he tried to contact the orc generals. Releasing a breath he didn't know he was holding after they had answered. How much time do you think you have before arriving to the lizardman territory? The slightly glazed eyes of the orc general gained enough clarity for a few moments to be able to answer. 13 days left. Damn it, I don't have enough time to play hide and seek with the ogres. I guess they will have to wait until after I create the demon lord. With that he flew off, heading towards the orcs' location. Chapter 10, Meeting the Dryad, Updated. Hi there. If you are curious about how this story will go in the future, take a look at the author's note too, as I will talk about it briefly. Also, keep in mind that if your comment contains anything close to a bad word, I won't be able to respond to it because it will be hidden by web novel, though I can still see it in the author's section. I had left the cave and noticed the stares from the people around me. They were filled with even greater respect than usual. As if they were looking at a mighty king. I guess the effect of Commander's aura and charm together creates this sort of effect. In the distance, I could see the ogres arriving at the village. A similar situation as to what happened with the goblins occurred. Except for this time, a few of them were looking at me with stars in their eyes. I guess they must have heard about the fight with orcs. The village chief approached me, and once he was just a few feet away he knelt on one knee. And a second later the rest of the ogres followed suit. I have talked with the members of my village on the trip here. And we have decided to accept the offer to join your village. I hope we will be of service. In that case, let us begin with the naming. Thanks to the fight with the orcs, I can now name 10 ogres per day. Let us start with you, village chief. Your name shall be Momomaru, Benimaru, Shin, Shina, Sui, Hakuro, Kurob, Murug, Varut, Gutmud. After giving names to the ogres I called upon Benimaru, Hakuro, and Momomaru to follow me for a meeting with Rigurd. Shana had also followed, as she offered to serve tea and some snacks she had packed, and you know we never say no to snacks. We had to discuss our plans for how to deal with the Orc Lord. And, minutes after we had entered the room in which we would talk, Shin knocked on the door to inform me of a special guest who wanted to talk with us. After I agreed to the meeting, I walked onto my chair, and the moment I sat down a gust of wind appeared in the middle of the room and a dryad appeared. My greetings to you, leader of the monsters. I am Trenny the Dryad. It is nice to meet you. My name is Rimuru Tempest. Feel free to call me Rimuru. May I know the reason for this visit? Sir Rimuru, I have come here to discuss some events you may be aware of, and I come to ask for your assistance. As you may already know, an Orc Lord has appeared. And, if he keeps following the path he is taking, we Dryads won't have enough strength to stop him once he reaches the Treant community. So as the representative, I please ask you to help us stop this threat. One of my sisters saw your fight with the small army of orcs, and it shows that you are more than qualified for this job. In addition, we have confirmed that a high-level Magicborn is assisting the Orc Lord in the background. This could imply the involvement of a Demon Lord. If you assist us, we Dryads will be eternally grateful. And we will do anything within our powers to pay back this favor. I agree to help to fight this Orc Lord. However, I think we should keep the casualties from the orcs to a minimum. If I am not wrong, they are currently under the effect of a skill that makes them lose their minds and turns them into a fearless army, right? That is correct, it is the skill that Orc Lords gain called Starving. In that case, the majority of the orcs are not in their right mind. And I don't want to take the lives of those who are doing what they are doing because they are under the effect of a skill. During the battle against the Orc Lord, I would like for us to try to stop the orcs in place or neutralize them in a way that doesn't involve killing. I will deal with the Orc Lord. Trenny gave me a surprised look followed by a warm smile. Sir Rimuru, if you are capable of defeating the Orc Lord, I am sure the effect of the skill will stop on the rest of the orcs. Even if we stop the Orc Lord, that doesn't change the fact that the orcs will not have enough food for all of them. Said Hakuro. You are right. As we stand now, we don't have enough resources to feed an army of 190,000 orcs. Trenny, is there any way the Dryads can assist with food provisions? Trenny thought for a few seconds and exclaimed, the treants produce fruits that can fill one's stomach for days. We have enough of them at the moment that we could probably feed them for a small week or two. Can Dryads make food grow faster and with a higher quantity? By this point, Trenny was getting the idea of the plans I had in mind. The conversation carried on for a few hours, and by the end of it, we had a plan of action. The next morning, Caval's party decided to return to report to their guild master. They seemed to have enjoyed the hospitality of the village. They mentioned how they wanted to return for a longer stay on a happier occasion before they left. And I sent them off with 2 goblin riders to help keep them safer while they traveled through the more dangerous part of the forest. We didn't have much time before leaving towards the lizardman territory, but there were still a few things I had to prepare. There was one thing I wanted to try specifically. Hakuro, would you mind having a small meeting with me? It would be my honor, Sir Rimuru. How can I be of assistance? Well, you see, I am not someone who is well versed in sword fighting. And I am well aware that my magic won't always work on my enemies. And though I would like to learn this in a proper way, I have a way to speed my learning up. With the skill Shared Mind, I could learn your sword style and learn some of the knowledge you have gained throughout your time as a swordsman. Would you allow me to use this skill? That. Sir Rimuru. Hakuro was hesitating. It was quite the big request to let someone enter your mind and learn from it. If I had unlimited time, I would not mind learning it the traditional way, but alas, that was not the case. I could see the gears turning in his head until a determined expression appeared on his face. Sir Rimuru. Though I would have liked to teach you personally, I understand your position. As the leader of our village, you must be prepared to protect it from any threat. You may use your skill. Thank you. Understood. Activating skill Shared Mind on the target. No resistance was found. Scanning the target for requested memories. Copying selected memories. Mission successful. Hakuro's sword arts have been successfully learned. And just like that, I knew how to wield a sword. Quite handy if I do say so myself. The next few hours were spent naming ogres and selecting the people who would go with me to the lizardman territory. By the next day, we were ready to depart. Following me were 15 kaijin, 50 ogres, and 30 of the 50 goblin riders we currently had available. It's a bit of an overkill considering the plan we had made and the fact that I was planning to head straight toward the Orc Lord during the fight, but it is always better to be over than under-prepared. 5 of the newly named kaijin had stayed behind to guard the village in case anything happened to it while I was away. With everything prepared, we headed off to where the Orc Lord was located. Chapter 11, The Orc Disaster. Make sure to go back to the last chapter to read the part I added at the end of the chapter if you read the version that didn't say updated. It felt like it would fit better in there than at the beginning of this one. Gelmud was a bit tired. He had taken a hands-on approach to the creation of the Orc Disaster. And, he had to admit that dealing with those under the influence of Starved was the most frustrating thing he had ever done. He had met zombies easier to deal with than them. It had gotten to the point where he would go out of his ways to defeat strong monsters to feed the Orc Lord in hopes of triggering his evolution. They were getting closer to the Lizardman tribe and he was hoping that they would be enough. He flew near the Orc Lord and asked him, "How are you doing, you big starving piece of shit? Feel any different yet? More hungry? Maybe I should lock you up in a cell and see if starving more than you are right now will help ya evolve. What do you think about that?" No response. The Orc Lord's mind was clouded. All he could think of was feeding his people. He was somewhere deep in his mind, but the hunger had made him lose all reason. At this point, he was moving on instinct to wherever he could find food. He could hear Gelmud, the magic-born who had named him, talking to him. However, he couldn't understand him. It was as if anything that wasn't food was clouded. It didn't feel great, but it was the only way to keep the orcs alive. Ironically enough, the only thing that kept the orcs from dying of starvation was starving itself. However, he could begin to feel the changes inside of him. Deep down he knew that once the change fully took place he would be in a better position to help his fellow orcs. He could feel the change getting closer and closer. He could feel the clarity returning. They were heading directly toward the direction that Trenny had given them. Due to the fact that they were a week ahead of schedule, the Orc Lord was quite a bit away from the Lizardman territory. So he had sent Sui and 2 other kaijin toward the Lizardman territory as a diplomat, while the rest of my group made a beeline to the Orc Lord. Since we are both heading in similar directions, we should be arriving at their location in 2 days. Once we were a mile from the direction of the orcs, we stopped. We were preparing for a sneak attack. Whilst we could go in guns blazing, it would cause too many unnecessary casualties on the orcs' side. And even if I were not to care for their deaths, though I was stronger at the moment than my original counterpart, it didn't mean I should just jump right into the middle of 190,000 hungry orcs. We had set up the ambush at our location close enough that if we were to be detected while infiltrating them, the ones staying behind would reach the battle quickly. I and a few of the now 23 kaijin in our group who had the shadow motion skill would go and hide in the shadows of the orc lord and his generals. Sneaking in was fairly easy. Though I could not say I was prepared for what I was about to see. Gelmud flying towards the direction of the orc lord carrying some huge corpses. "Here you go, you useless piece of bacon," Gelmud said as he dropped off the corpse. "Can't even hunt for themselves without disappearing into nothingness. I swear I am going to enjoy bossing you around once your brain can process any orders other than eat, you piece of." Gelmud kept on throwing his temper tantrum at the orc lord. I could see the location of the ambush getting close. But then I got launched into damage control mode. The orc lord's eyes appeared to gain clarity as he ate the snake. He gave one look at Gelmud and the next thing I knew he had picked him up and eaten him. Shit, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. "Attack now!" I screamed through my mental link. We all jumped into action at that moment. The kaijin hiding in the shadows jumped out and grabbed a hold of the orc generals through various means, whether by using threads or by using different types of spells to freeze, shock, or trap in the dirt. The ones who stayed behind jumped out and created barriers using a similar method as the ones hiding in the shadows. By doing this we had effectively rendered their army of 190,000 to less than 50 inside the barrier. The few that made it through were stopped by the goblin riders and pushed back. This left the orc lord, or should I say, the evolving orc lord for me. The plan was to use Dark Thunder to shock him long enough for me to use Predator on him. This unfortunately did not work. The Dark Thunder struck him, but he was more shocked by the surprise attack coming out of nowhere than by the actual thunder. "Chaos Eater!" he yelled. Snake-like tendrils of energy shot out from his back heading in my direction. I quickly fell back down through his shadows so that they would hit the ground. Shadow magic, shadow expansion, I thought. The shadow of the newly awakened orc disaster expanded all around him. Shadow magic, dark tendrils. Surrounded by his own shadow, the orc disaster saw tendrils grow from underneath him and wrap his whole body, rendering him immobile. "You think this is enough to stop me? I am Geld, the orc disaster. I shall feed you all to my urg." He had just gotten hit by a debilitate spear. "Let this be a lesson to you kids, don't do speeches in the middle of a fight." Jumping out from his shadow, I saw him using his Chaos Eater to try to eat the shadow tendrils. And, while it was working, it would take too long for him to be freed from them. "How the hell are you eating literal shadows?" "Well, I guess I am using shadows as some sort of rope, so I am not one to talk." I jumped towards him and used Predator. The actual process of eating him was far easier than expected due to the circumstances he now found himself in. "Don't worry, big guy, I promise I'll help the orcs find food. You know that this isn't the right way to do it. They are not themselves anymore. I made a deal with the Dryads and they are going to help me feed them. So please, do not resist." By the time I had finished using thought communication to send my message, I was 90% of the way to finish covering him to eat him. I saw his eyes look at me with panic, frustration, anger, and then acceptance. If it was because he heard my message or because he had realized that the fight was lost, he stopped resisting. He took one last look at the battlefield and saw that not one of his orcs had died during this fight. The last emotion that appeared in his eyes was relief. And so the short life of the orc disaster ended. Chapter 12, Jura Tempest Federation. Clayman was relaxing in his chair. He was looking through his window. Recently one of his servants, Gelmud, had somehow lost not only 10,000 orcs but also the entire ogre tribe. Even worse, he had nothing to show for it. So he had commanded him to give a recording orb to the orcs that would always be active. And instead of trusting him to manage the recording and save what was important, he had some of his subordinates do it. He was getting regular reports on the progress of the Orc Lord and knew that the arrival of his puppet Demon Lord was close. If everything went according to his plan, he would become the strongest member of the Demon Lords. Soon enough, with the help of the moderate jesters, he would bring his creator back to life. And, with him by his side, he would be unstoppable. He would finally take revenge on Leon for killing his master. Knock knock. "Come in. Lord Clayman, we have an urgent report about the Orc Lord." Appearing in front of the lizardman chieftain Sui and his two assistants, Kotaro and Hanzo, were quickly surrounded by the nearby lizardmen. But before the lizardmen could get too close they were stopped by the chieftain. Halt! To what do I owe your visit, ogres? We have come as envoys of our lord to deliver his invitation. My great lord Rimuru has graciously passed an invitation for the lizardman tribe to become his subordinates. He promises to defeat the orc lord that is approaching your village as a show of his power. But don't think that you will not gain anything from becoming his subordinate. To you, he promises what he has promised us ogres. He promises to name all the members of your tribe. He promises his defense in case of dangers. And he promises a free pass to join his growing village, a place which shall become the mightiest kingdom in due time. All he requires is your loyalty and servitude. However, there is one thing you have wrong. I am no longer an ogre. Thanks to my lord I have evolved into a kaijin. And soon enough all of my village will be too. The chieftain was shocked. He had expected the mention of the orc lord. After all, he was not only a threat to his village but for the rest of the Jura forest. What he did not expect was an invitation to join someone's village as a subordinate. Not only that, but he had been offered to have all of his people named. However, he couldn't take all that he said at face value. Before he could ask his next question, one of his guards acted before him. Chief, you don't have to listen to them. I have never heard of a Rimuru in this forest. They must be trying to trick you. The guard attempted to approach the kaijins, but the moment he took a step forward he found that he couldn't move. You are lucky that my lord has asked to make this invitation peacefully. Otherwise, you would have lost your head at that very moment. Hanzo said. I thank you for your patience, kaijins. And, though I know our tribe does not stand a chance against a fight with you three, how am I to trust that your lord Rimuru can provide what he says? At that moment a gust of wind flew in the middle of the room and a beautiful green-haired woman appeared. You may trust the words of the kaijin, chieftain. I have personally witnessed Sir Rimuru in action. Both in battle and in the naming of the ogres he has shown that he keeps his promise. I as a dryad, protector of this forest, can guarantee his word. Tria, Treni's sister, had appeared to assist in the negotiations. You have obtained the unique skill Starved. Combining Starved with Predator. Unique skill Gluttony has been acquired. The skill Gluttony contains all the abilities of the skill Predator in addition to the skills of Starved, which are Corrosion, the ability to decompose the target in conjunction with predation. Also the ability to add the abnormal condition of decomposition. There is a chance of acquiring an ability after consuming only a part of a target's body. However, the chance of that happening is less than consuming the whole body. Receive, it is possible to acquire skills from one's subordinates. However, one must raise proficiency on one's own. Magic and knowledge also cannot be transferred. Supply, whether a subordinate or not, the user can grant an ability unto a monster with whom he has a relationship. Limited by the target's inherent magical energy. Now that the orc disaster had been defeated, the rest of the orcs had lost their will to fight. Recalling all that they had done while under the effect of Starved was not a pleasant experience. They had even eaten their own comrades, and now, they were sure to all die by the hands of the mysterious elf. Seeing the defeated faces of the orcs, I decided to speak up. Listen up, everyone. I have no intention of killing any of you. You were all under the effect of a skill, so in my eyes you are innocent. The orc disaster, though with good intentions, was the one who had commanded you with Starved, so he is the one guilty of your crimes. And don't worry about what you will have to eat. The Dryads and I will help you to acquire a stable source of food. For now, chose a representative to join me and the lizardmen for a meeting where we shall discuss the details. Once the representative was chosen, we led the way towards the lizardmen territory. The location for the meeting. Things went smoothly with the lizardmen, the Dryads, and the orcs agreeing to join me. I gave the lizardmen and the orc representative names on the spot. Abil and Geld. Just like that, the Jura Tempest Federation had been created. We led the orcs and lizardmen who would stay at Tempest back. The near future appeared to be filled with naming and building. After eating the orc disaster, my mage IQs had increased, which meant I could name more people per day. Many things had happened this past 2 months. The construction of the city had increased tremendously. With the help of the newly named orcs, we had started to develop the infrastructure needed for a good part of the city, with some buildings already in progress. With the help of the dwarves and the best architect and inventor I could think of, Great Sage, we had planned out plumbing and many other necessities. Whilst I hadn't finished naming all of the monsters in my village, I had made good progress. But not only was I way behind on naming, but I was also adding new monsters by the day. Zijin, a large beetle, an Apito who looked like a large bee. And during this past few months, other villages of monsters who lived in the forest had approached with wishes to join. Thanks to the skills the ogres brought, we had access to better clothes and fabrics, blacksmithing, cooking, and magic techniques. At this moment the citizens of Tempest had actual proper clothing and great tools to help with the manual labor. I had helped a lot in any way I could with the use of my clones, with Sage helping me manage them. The personal strength of the citizens had also grown too. While not every single citizen was required to join in on the battle and fighting class, Hakuro taught a good chunk of them did, just to grow to be strong enough to protect themselves and help defend the city should they ever need to. The only thing required of the citizens was to study one of the following skills. Blacksmithing, taught by Kurobe and his assistant Kakuro. Farming, taught by the Dryads. Construction, taught by Myrd. Weaving, taught by Shana and her assistant Yua, who also was a Kaijin. And a few other jobs. Benimaru had become the general of the current Tempest army. I had expected his father Momomaru to take the role, but then I was reminded that monsters lose strength when they become parents. And so, Benimaru was actually quite a bit stronger than his father. Sui had started his own intelligence-gathering organization with many of his previous Kaijin friends who had a similar skill set. A few of the lizardmen who had now evolved into Dragonewts had joined too. And some of the hobgoblins who had learned Shadow Step decided to join too. During this time I had gotten close to a few girls. Shin and Shana had done their best to be the first to get close to me. It was fun to be around these two Kaijin. Shana was very sweet and kind, and she would always bring snacks she had made. Something I found out about her was how good she was at giving massages. While I technically may not have muscles, I could still feel the relaxation that came with massages. Shin was determined to become my secretary. And not just any secretary, but the #1 in the whole world. She did try her hand in cooking me meals like Shana, but you know how they ended up. It was quite endearing to see her work so hard as my secretary, even if sometimes she woke up and chose violence. Teaching her that just because a problem could be solved with violence, it didn't mean that it should. Trya had started hanging out with me every time she wasn't busy helping out on the farms. Apparently, she had been the one to witness my fight against the 10,000 orcs, and she had thought I was really cool. She kept talking about how she was frustrated that she had been sent to the lizardmen by Trenin instead of being able to see the fight against the orc disaster. Suka was someone I hadn't expected to become my fan. I guess in the end this time she hadn't been rescued by Sui from the jail, since we had taken care of the orc lord while Gable was still out trying to get goblins to join him. When I went to help Sui with his class to explain the usage of shadow magic, I had gone a bit overboard and ended up catching her attention. Talking about Gable, he had tried to pull the coup stunt but ended up getting his ass kicked and getting grounded and sent to Tempest to work by the evolved Abil. Now there were only a few preparations left to do before the arrival of Gazel and Milim. Chapter 15, Gazel Dwargo, and the Strongest Weapon. Managing a country was quite stressful. Keeping everyone fed and happy was a big task with around 192,000 people to manage. Thankfully, with the Dryads and the Ents' help, we were able to manage. I had used mimicry on all the races that were currently in the city and was now using my newly acquired Kaijin form. I quite liked the look of the horns and had even added a bit of an elven touch by making the ears a bit sharper. Image here. I was taken out of my train of thought when I saw flying horses approaching. I guess enough time has finally passed that Gazel has decided to visit. Time to put on my business face. I called Hakuro, Trya, and a few of the Kaijin to follow me to meet with the approaching visitors. Kaijin met us on the way there. Once we were a good distance from the center of the city, we could see the horses getting nearer to us. It can't be, the Pegasus Knights, Kaijin muttered. Once they had landed, Gazel approached me. It is nice to meet you again, King of Dwarven. My name is Rimuru Tempest, the ruler of this forest. May I know why you have decided to visit us? Spare the formalities, I have come here not as a king but as an individual. Kaijin, it is good to see you once again. As for you, it seems you look a bit different than from when we last met. The atmosphere was a bit tense. The ones who were standing behind Gazel were analyzing all of the ones present. And in return, all of the people on my side looked ready to launch an attack at any moment. Calm down, guys, I don't think this will end in a fight. Well, maybe it will, but more of a friendly spar at best. Lower your weapons and look calmer. You'll end up giving the ones behind the king a heart attack, I said to them, using the skill Shared Mind. They immediately relaxed their postures, and judging by the small smile that had escaped Gazel, he must have somehow listened in on it. Yes, I do look a bit different now, trying out a new style and all. I could return to my slime form, but I believe it would be more comfortable for us to speak in this form. Since you have come here, how about staying for a cup of tea? Maybe you can catch up with Kaijin along the way. What an appealing offer, however, I am not sure if I can trust you yet. I see that you are carrying a sword with you. How about this, block one single string of attacks from me and then I will decide if I can trust you. Of course, you are free to attack me along the way. Do you accept? I do not see why not, it would always help to compare my skill with someone who has a lot of experience with the sword. At this Trias stepped in. Then please allow me to watch over the match. Her sneaky thumbs up toward me was missed by most of the crowd due to the commotion of seeing a dryad. Ha ha ha, I guess ruler of this forest was not a lie. In that case, let us fight. Begin. Trias said. Using thought acceleration and universal sense I could follow the movements of Gazel. We both jumped towards each other and I decided to go on the offensive. I swung my sword towards him. The moment it was reflected, Gazel attempted to use his heroic aura on me. But with simultaneous activation of my commander's aura, I was able to counter him and catch him off guard for a split second. A split second I took advantage of to attempt the same move he would have used on me. I disappeared from sight. The surprised expression on the king's face didn't last long, only to be replaced with a wide grin. Without a moment of pause, he raised his sword and parried my blade. His movements began to speed up and without the use of any other skills I was starting to fall behind on strength. I had Hakuro's knowledge of the sword, but there was only so much that could do since the person that was pushing me back also had that knowledge and even more. Notice. Analysis of King Gazel's sword style in progress. Using Hakuro's sword skills as reference. Learning in progress. Analyzing skill heroic aura. Cross-referring with the skill commander's aura. Learning in progress. Now that I could feel Sage analyzing his every move following his blade became easier. Technically speaking, I had already blocked multiple strikes after my failed attack, but I guess the king had gotten a bit carried away after seeing me use his old master's sword move. Instead of being pushed back, I was able to stand my place. Without realizing it, my commander's aura, which was still active, was starting to grow and was trying to push back against Gazel's. This, unfortunately, only made Gazel's smile grow and the strength he was using against me increase. He must have sensed the growing unease of my people as he stopped for a moment and looked all around him. This is my final attack, make sure to block it. He disappeared from my sight and I prepared to block up. However, something was wrong. This wasn't quite how you used Hakuro's attack. Wait, oh shit. I twisted my body to look behind me and sure enough there he was about to thrust his sword. As fast as I could I tried to place my sword to block, but once his blade made contact with mine my sword shattered and exploded. I could see the oh shit expression in his eyes once it happened, but he was a bit too late and in a bad position to stop his attack. The blade kept traveling in my direction and I was barely able to twist my stomach enough that it barely missed. Wahahaha, I apologize for my mistake. I should have stopped a moment before. I got a bit too carried away since you reminded me of my old master so much. I have confirmed you are not an enemy to my nation. I do have to ask, from who did you learn to fight so well? That would be from me. It has been a long time, Gazel. You look well. Hakuro stepped in. From there a friendly conversation ensued. The reuniting of master and student brought even more joy to Gazel. Seeing how much catching up they had, I invited the Pegasus Knights and the king to join us for a banquet. I guess I had earned a bit of a brotherly bond from Gazel due to being the student from the same teacher. Thankfully Hakuro kept his mouth shut in regards to how I had actually learned the blade. All's well that ends well, I guess. Both my people and his got along quite well during the banquet. Of course, Gazel's people were still on guard even after he had told them to relax, but old habits die hard. Talks followed a similar path as to the original. I ended up with an alliance treaty that followed these terms. 1. A non-aggression treaty with each other. 2. Assistance whenever one nation is endangered. 3. The building of a road to Dwarven, in exchange for their backing. 4. Guaranteed safety for dwarves in the forest of Jura. 5. Promises of technology sharing between us. Another thing that Gazel wanted to do was to be able to come every once in a while to spar with both me and Hakuro every once in a while. I agreed to this as Great Sage was not able to fully analyze both his heroic aura and his fighting style. The more time I speed fighting him, the more I will be able to analyze and learn them. It turns out that Gazel spends a lot of time working and almost never had time off to do anything fun, so allowing him to train with us was a win-win scenario. We finished making the proper papers for the alliance and after some days Gazel dropped off Vester to me to help with research. Once they left I asked Shana to make a lot of sweets and snacks, which she gladly did. And I left toward the bee colony led by Apito. After all, she would give me the strongest and most important weapon that any mortal could acquire. Capable of defeating even the strongest of demon lords. Honey. Chapter 16, Milim Nava. The day had finally arrived. I could feel the massive ball of Magicules rapidly approaching. I had commanded everyone to stay back no matter what. I wouldn't want to start a fight for no reason. And once I was in a small mountain away from the city, I released my Magicules as a beacon so that she could pinpoint my location. A few moments later, the ball of Magicules made a beeline towards my direction and landed forcefully on the ground. Once the dust had dispersed, a platinum pink-haired girl with a petite body emerged. She had a beautiful face and was wearing a very revealing outfit. Removing the dust from her body, she gave one look at me and said, "Hello, hello. I am the Demon Lord Milim Nava. You look like you are the strongest around, so I wanted to say hi." She paused for a second and stared at me. "Wait, you are a slime." Even if I was in my Kaijin form, there is little that can be hidden from her unique skill, Dragon's Eye. "Yep, I am trying out a new look, what do you think?" I said while switching between my slime, elven, human, and the back to Kaijin. I personally like the horns, even though they can be a bit inconvenient at times. "Oh, also, my name is Rimuru. I am the leader of this city," I said while poking at my horns. She gave me some looks up and down. "I agree, they do add a bit of weight." "It was you. You were the one who ate the Orc Lord, weren't you?" "Ah, yes, he was turning into quite the problem around this forest. Sorry, I can't give him back since he has already been digested. However, I do have something to pay you back with," I said while slowly approaching her. "Oh, don't worry, he wasn't my heir. I mean, how were you looking to pay me back?" "With one of the finest products, of course," I said while taking out a small amount of honey and making it float above my hand. "Now close your eyes and open wide." Following my directions, she closed her eyes and opened her mouth. Must be nice to be able to be so careless. I guess once you can take a nuke point blank and come out unscathed, you can afford to take candy from strangers. Once the honey entered her mouth, her eyes shot wide open. "What is this? I have never had something so delicious." "You are absolutely forgiven for eating the orc." "Wait, no, I must be given more of this and then you will be forgiven." "Oh? I'm sorry, but only those who meet very specific circumstances can receive more of this fine product. It is a very special set of circumstances that only very few people meet." "What? What are they?" "I am really strong. I am sure that I can earn the right to have delicious thing again." "Well, if you insist, I'll tell you only because it is you. There are in truth only two requirements. As long as you meet just one of them, you can have more of the honey I gave you." Standing side by side with her, I leaned over as if I was about to tell her a secret. 1. You must be my very best friend. The one and only, you know, be there in good times and in bad times. Hanging out, having fun, eating sweets, playing games. Then I paused and looked away, intentionally creating a blush on my face. "Or the second option is to become my wife," I said in a lower tone, pretending to be embarrassed. Even while looking the other way, I could still see her face go through a range of emotions. Embarrassed, thoughtful, sad, happy, and finally determined. "Rimuru," she said as she looked me in the eyes. With all the seriousness in the world from now on, a bright smile bloomed on her face. "We are best friends," she said, pulling me into a hug. "Mission partially failed, we'll get her next time." "Ha ha ha. Alright Milim, come on, I gotta show you around," I said after ending the hug. I called Ranga out and asked him to take us toward the city. Milim and I sat side by side on top of Ranga and let him carry us slowly to the city. I handed her a jar full of honey once we were on, and she held it as if it was the most precious thing she had. "Say, Rimuru, do you want to become a demon lord? We could be demon lord buddies and make all the people scared of us. Act all big and important around everyone," she said while punching the air. I think I will have to in the future in order to protect what I have built and those who I care about. But making humans look up to us? That sounds like a bit of a boring goal to have, don't you think? I mean, I have been having a lot more fun around here. It is a lot of hard work, but I can guarantee that the process is a lot of fun." You are having more fun than by becoming a demon lord? That's not fair. As your new best friend, I want to join in too. Of course you are invited. Feel free to stay as long as you want. He. Well, in that case, don't mind if I do. One last thing before we enter. A few of my people may not be, how should I put this, smart. So if they offend you in some way please don't break them. These days have been a bit more crazy and fun than usual. Milim had stuck to me like a koala. She was surprisingly soft for someone with such high defense. She was now wearing the casual outfit she used while on Tempest. I had fulfilled my part of having fun stuff to do as she joined me on my daily rounds around the city. The thing she had actually enjoyed the most was farming and working the fields, something about getting the ingredients for the delicious food Shana made, she said. Even then I still snuck away from time to time, leaving a slime plushie as a substitution. I still had to spend time with my girls after all. Milim, noticing this, even pulled me away to warn me that they may be after my honey and to watch out. This had made me laugh a lot as I mentally agreed with her, but maybe not the type of honey she was thinking about. After I had asked her to try to become friends with them, she realized that maybe they weren't so bad and had also started a friendship with them. Milim had even joined us in the bath a couple of times, which was an experience I enjoyed, even if nothing really happened between us there. I got to have more free time to spend with everyone by using the power of delegation. I did a trial version using clones, but it took both too many of the magicules I needed for naming and too much of Sage's processing power to manage them. In addition, after doing a bit of management, I discovered a couple of talented people within my people who could ease and better the development of the city. Other than spending time with Milim and the girls, I also got together with people like Benimaru, Sui, and Hakuro in order to organize a proper plan in case we were to be attacked. Bringing up the strategies that different countries might use against us and preparing proper plans of defense. Sui had prepared to send some spies to various nations to gather information, expanding our nation's range of knowledge. We wanted to be able to justify any actions we may take in the future, and what better justification than to have dirt on the people in power of other nations to flip the public's opinion. Once all preparations were done, all that was left was to wait for Phobio to arrive. R17, Phobio gets shot in the face. I was sitting on the floor spewing out threads with different properties. Apparently, if clothing was made with these threads, they would retain their properties and affect the user. We were currently using threads like paralysis, poison, and other effects to train resistances in our fighters. Shana and Shin were helping me sort out the threads for delivery to the clothing department. Milim had put her new favorite plushie on my legs and was using that as a pillow to take a nap. It was a pretty simple and relaxing day until I got the notice from Great Sage. Notice. The individual you have been expecting is about to enter the city. Sigh, I guess it is time. Turning my legs into slime to not disturb the cute sleeping nuke and reassembling myself standing up, I called out to Shin. We gotta go, someone is about to cause trouble. Arriving at the city center, I could see a black-haired strolling like he owned the city. I saw him talking to Rigurd just in time to stop him from attacking. I shadow-stepped in front of Rigurd and caught the fist he had launched. Now, I do wonder why a stranger is attacking one of my citizens. Are you perhaps looking to start a fight? Your city? So it is you I should talk to. I, Phobio, one of Lord Carrion's 3 lycanthropers, have been sent, and I find that your city is quite good. It sure would make a fine addition to my lord's collection. You have the honor. No, this is my city, I do not intend on giving it to anyone. If that is all you are here for, you are free to go. Phobio's expression instantly darkened and he tried to attack me. I just caught his fist a second time using body armor on my hand and pointed my other finger to his face as if it were a gun. Bang! With that, I released a burst of corrosive breath from my finger directly onto his face. It must have hurt quite a bit judging by his screams. That shit must have gotten into his eyes. Before too much damage was caused, I splashed some full heal potion on his face and dispelled my skill. Even then he was still rolling around on the floor. So much for Demon Lord potential, am I right? You just gotta be creative to win fights easily. Let that be a warning, I do not enjoy being nor seeing my citizens attacked for no reason. I do not mind having a proper diplomatic talk with Demon Lord Carrion, but at least ask him to send a better envoy. Attacking the person you are trying to have talks with does not leave a great first impression. At that moment I was attacked from behind me by a pink-haired missile. Once she was standing side by side, she grabbed me by the collar and with the most dramatic voice she could muster asked. Rimuru. How dare you betray me? If it wasn't for my strong fun senses, I would have missed out on this monkey rolling on the ground. My bwahahahaha, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist laughing. What is going on with that guy? Oh, that guy tried to start a fight saying I should give my city to Demon Lord Carrion, and once I rejected he tried to punch me. Next thing I knew he stopped, dropped, and rolled. By now Phobio had stood up and looked ready for a fight. Just before he got ready to launch another attack, he looked at the woman standing next to the leader of this city. Judging by the aura and appearance of the girl, he couldn't mistake who she was. Why is Carrion sending such aggressive envoys? Doesn't he know the meaning of no standing in each other's ways? If he continues to mess with my friend, I might have to pay him a visit to teach him not to break promises. Taking a look at the two standing in front of him, Phobio knew he had no chance. If it was only the Kaijin who owned the city, he was sure he could win. He had only been caught off guard by his attack, and now that he was prepared, he was sure he could beat him. But with Milim standing next to him, all he could do was retreat for now. You will regret this, Phobio said as he started to walk away. Let Demon Lord Carrion know that I won't mind receiving his envoys if he does it the proper way next time. Just let us know ahead of time. Oh well, Milim, do you want some snacks? I gotta get back to making some more thread for a bit, but I do feel like snacking. A few days later I had done some more bug recruiting. They grew to be surprisingly strong, so I might as well try to add some more. Though finding ones with actual growth potential was a bit rare, I did find a few. An assassin bug which I had named Zhaozhu. A mantis I had named Meimei. And a spider I had named Silk. Making my way back, I had been informed of some visitors that had arrived. Among them was Caval's party, Fuse, and a few other random adventurers which I assumed to be Yum and his party. I didn't really have a need for Yum. After all, in the long term, I had easier plans for dealing with Falmouth than to make a complicated scheme to put someone like him on the throne. Plus it didn't help out much to increase human relations to have assisted on the takedown of the Orc Lord. I'll pass him off to Hakuro to deal with if he decides to stay. The meeting with Fuse went pretty smoothly. I had secured myself a visit to make an alliance with Blue Mund if I wanted to. Fuse seemed to be a pretty smart guy, so we ended up with pretty good standing with each other. Ellen and her party was a fun addition too. They hadn't seen much of the progress that had gone since their past few visits, and they were pretty amazed by how fast everything was going. Fuse and them had decided to stay for a few days to get familiar with the city, so I had prepared a few rooms for them to stay in. We had decided to spread a different story about the fight with the Orc Lord. The Dryads had come to our village and many others in the search for assistance with the Orc Lord. By bringing the ogres, the goblins, and the lizardmen together to fight him off. After a grueling battle with many losses on both sides, we finally came out victorious. As a celebration and in order to prevent future chaos within our forest, we all come together to build a city. And the Dryads named me their leader. The reason we needed a cover-up story was just in case Falmouth decided to chicken out if they knew we had beaten the Orc Lord with no problem. It wasn't really likely, but it was always better to be prepared. I needed them for my evolution to Demon Lord, and if I just went there and killed the people I needed, I could end up making Tempest an enemy of the Western nations, which would really just be a pain to deal with. As long as they assemble their troops and attempt to attack first, I could deal with the rest. As for Yum and his party, I had offered them a place to stay and work, and since they didn't have anywhere else to go, after taking a look around the city, they accepted. I didn't really need them, but throwing them out would seem like a bit of a waste. I just had someone take them to where Hakuro was training everyone and let him figure out what to do with them. If they were not up to his standards, he was free to kick them out to do something else. Now I just had to wait for Caribdis to appear. I did realize that since I was the one to confront him this time, he probably would have a grudge with me and not Milim, but if in the end I can't defeat him, I don't mind being a bit shameless and letting Milim help out. Chapter 18, Caribdis. As preparation for Caribdis, I had made a plan I titled Operation Magic School Business. It was a plan I was probably not going to enjoy, but it was the only viable way I could think of to defeat Caribdis without Milim's help. I had checked with Sage and she had confirmed that I could not use gluttony on enemies that are stronger than I am, so just attempting that was a no-go. That is why Rimuru had a bit of trouble when eating the orc disaster. However, as Caribdis would now be fully integrated with their host, I could potentially eat and defeat them by getting to their core. I knew the rot properties of gluttony could work if only for a little bit. So instead of trying to consume all of it, I just had to make a hole to get inside. I still had Milim practice holding back in case I got stuck. If there is anything we should all learn from Batman, is to always have contingency plans. Especially if you are jumping inside a giant flying dragon shark. A few moments later, Trya appeared next to me with a panicked face. Rimuru. Caribdis has been revived, and he is heading directly to the city. Calm down, Trya. I promise to keep the city safe. Could you please call an emergency meeting? With everyone in the meeting room, we began to discuss ways of dealing with Caribdis. I offered my plan to deal with Caribdis, but we still had to deal with the megalodons that came with. Due to their magic resistance, they would be a pain to deal with, but thankfully we had a surplus of physically strong kaijin as well as dragon newts and high orcs. I sent Sui to deliver the message of the impending attack and of our plans to Gazel. And to finish up this meeting I had given them the order to not die. Even if I could bring them back using Eros, I would rather they didn't. Lastly, Milim's job was to supervise that nothing went wrong. If for some reason any of the teams fighting the Megalodons found themselves in a position that could end with all of their deaths, she was free to step in. And once again, if Magic School Bus went wrong, she would also step in. We were going to meet Caribdis halfway here in order to minimize any possible damage to the surroundings of the city. We were now standing in front of an approaching Caribdis. Come on, let me join, let me join. Please see. Milim was trying to use her skill puppy eyes, but it was ineffective. I'm sorry Milim, but this is not a game. We have to make sure that we are able to fight threats like this. Plus my people need some actual experience fighting against actual threats. You already know you can step in if the worst case scenario happens. I patted her hair and handed her a jar of honey. Here you go, just make sure to stay focused on the fight. With that, Milim's sadness was replaced with joy. Shana approached me from the side and asked me. Are you sure that you will be okay in there? Yes, don't worry. Let us begin our fight. Everyone who was here prepared themselves and shot forward with a high speed. The Pegasus Knight would give aerial support to the ones who were fighting on the ground. I sprouted my wings and used perfect replication to create a few weak clones whose job was to use gluttony on the scales Caribdis shot to protect the ones fighting on the ground. I returned to my younger form to be able to fight at 100%. I currently looked around 13 years old if I did not age myself up with the black mist. Eating this Caribdis would probably help me grow more so I could eat closer to staying in battle form all the time. Lifting myself off the ground, I flew towards Caribdis at the fastest speed I could, creating another clone with a bit more durability to distract it once I was near. Landing on its head, I tried to feel the approximate location of Phobio. Noticing the foreign entity on top of itself, Caribdis tried to attack using its scales to attack me, but it was too late. Found you. Using a concentrated attack of gluttony infused with rot in a small area of its head, I was able to create a large gash. The rot in it prevented the ultra-speed regeneration from healing as fast as it should. Then, using a combination of dark flame and corrosive breath, I further increased the time it would take for it to heal. Thanks to Great Sage, I was able to use my skills even with magic gemming, as all it did was disturb the flow of Magicule's Sage was able to analyze and activate skills even with an irregular flow of them. Using this method, I slowly dug myself down through its flesh. 10 minutes later, I was halfway to where Phobio was. The skin and flesh above me had healed and closed, so I had to constantly keep using my skills. I had to be thankful for thought acceleration and parallel processing, as they were the only things keeping me from getting trapped inside. Slowly but surely I kept on slowly moving forward. Once I had finally reached Phobio, I was mentally exhausted. Reaching towards him, I created a partial clone that was only the upper body that stuck out of my back. I still had to keep on using my skills even now. At this moment I deactivated my outside clones and let Sage focus completely on removing the core from Phobio. I had to assist with this, so using parallel processing I let one part of me continue to prevent the skin from healing whilst the other part of me assist in the removal of the core. Working as fast as we could without making mistakes, we proceeded to slowly consume the core that was in his chest. Now that we were not devoting our full attention to stopping them from healing, I could feel the wound slowly closing in on me. Thankfully though, we were finished before it was too late. Notice. The magical core of the individual Caribdis has successfully been separated from the individual Phobio. Consuming the magical core of the individual Caribdis. Successful. Analyzing core. Partially failed. Isolating and holding off on analysis until after the body has been consumed. Use gluttony on the body of Caribdis. Yes. Now that the core had been removed, the body would offer no resistance. So my body turned into slime and began to expand and consume everything around me. With its gigantic size, it took a full minute for it to be fully consumed, with the exception of Phobio. Now that there was nothing holding us up in the air, we began to freefall. Curse you, Miss Frizzle, for ever giving me this idea. I was too mentally exhausted to be able to properly stop myself mid-fall, so I let Sage take the wheel. She turned back into a kaijin and picked up Phobio from the sky, and I was then able to take a look around. All of the Megalodon appeared to have been defeated for a couple of minutes now. From what I could see, maybe I had worried a bit too much for their safety. Once we reached the ground, Sage dropped Phobio to the ground and carefully laid down my body. Once she was done, I was back on the wheel. I was quickly surrounded by a lot of people. It looked like a lot of them had been really worried for me since I had spent so much time inside of it. And once my clones disappeared, their worries had increased. I appreciated their worry, but all I could say was, "Thank you, but I am too tired to be able to think anything. I got a massive headache and, I think, I technically don't have a head. Just give me a few minutes. Also, Milim, tell Carrion that he owes me one. That dude Phobio was the cause for all of this." Once I said that, I closed my eyes to rest. I didn't fall asleep but just let all the stress from being on the equivalent of a room with shrinking walls go away. Having to be focused with your whole mind on something for such a long period of time in a stressful situation would make anyone want to fall asleep for days. I need to ask Shana for a massage once we're back. Chapter 19, Royal Speech. Analysis of Caribdis has been completed. The following skills have been acquired. Summoning Magic, Megalodon. Tempest Scales. Laser Look. Gravity Manipulation. Magic Gemming. Resist Magic. Due to prior acquisition of Magic Sense and Ultra Speed Regeneration, those skills will be turned into energy and absorbed. A few minutes had passed since I had defeated Caribdis. After I finished digesting all of its body, I had felt like I had absorbed quite a bit of Magicules. Looking at myself with universal sense, I could tell that I had grown too. I appeared to be around 17 to 18 years old now, 5 feet 10 inches. One more big meal and I would probably stop growing. Well, time to take care of matters here, so better get to work. With the problem now fixed, the Pegasus Knights returned to Dwarven to report to their king. I got to talk to Carrion once he got here and we decided to start trading with each other. Once that was done, I returned to Tempest with everyone and got the massage I needed. I had actually thought up a new training way. With my skill to summon Megalodon, I could just keep creating them for the people to practice fighting on them. It came with the added bonus of having an increased supply of food due to all of the meat they would leave behind. And we didn't even have to worry about dealing with rotting food because with ice magic and a special building we were in the process of creating, we could keep it okay for longer, and if it did go bad I could always just eat it and turn it into Magicules. The only problem with this was the number of Magicules they consumed to summon, but it wouldn't be a problem if I did it semi-sparingly. Pretty soon I would be leaving for Inglisia to give the kids their spirits. All I had left to do is send and receive the envoys from the Beast Kingdom. And visit Dwarven to give my welcoming speech. Sui had already begun to start to give me reports about foreign countries and giving me all of their juicy secrets. Who would have thought that a lot of nobles would do stuff they aren't supposed to? Oh no. Could it be that nobles are breaking the laws that they have made and agreed to? What would we ever do? In all seriousness, I was starting to gather a lot of dirt on some of these people. It will be pretty handy to not only have the strength to defeat them but also the knowledge to defend my actions. Taking over some countries in the west would become very easy once I had Diablo's Tempter skill on hand, guaranteeing that any takeover would go smoothly. I still had to worry about Granbell taking any drastic actions, but if I keep it on the down low I should be fine for the time being. It appeared that Falmouth had noticed our presence. Some discussion of whether to attack us or not had started, but it wasn't being taken too seriously for the moment. We had about 4 months if my estimates were correct. I had already given orders to allow this to happen and that once they attempted to attack we would strike once their guards are lowered. For now, we would focus on growing our city and creating roads faster, since, with all the extra meat we had gotten from the Megalodons, the orcs had gotten quite motivated. I had also left a tiny Rimuru slime clone with Vesters so that it could help with the process of creating and researching both potions and other inventions, among which was a teleportation circle. Thanks to it I was able to learn the spell teleportation, which was really just a downgraded version of spatial motion. Quite the handy spell for moving around. I had also analyzed the insects I had brought in with hopes of getting some new skills, but it appears that they still haven't grown enough to have anything worthwhile. I did gain the ability to create honey though. The last 2 things of note that had happened was that first I was experimenting to copy skills without devouring someone. At the moment I could only copy intrinsic skill, which made sense. It would be like turning into a fish and not be able to breathe underwater if I couldn't. So far I was unable to, even with superior analyze I just didn't have enough information to do it. I had to see a skill like Usurper in action. I was sure once I did Sage would do her magic and be able to use that skill as a foundation to build her own. And second, I had gained the skill Control Magic by combining magic gemming with control particles. The Beast Kingdom envoy swap went pretty good. Nothing too much of note. We traded some products from our own village, they showed us some of their products we could get. They did enjoy the conveniences that came with our country. After all, we were becoming quite modern at a very fast rate. Bathtubs and toilets in each bedroom were something pretty much no other country could provide at a similar level of quality. And that was just one of the examples. The day did come where Milim had to say goodbye. She had given me a long hug before leaving and said that she would be back to visit once she took care of some things. It was a bit sad to see the little nuke leave, but I knew it was coming. As a goodbye gift, I had given her a magic steel star necklace that Sage and I had made. A little nod to her father, the Star King Dragon Veldora. With her departure, all that was left was to visit Dwarven and give my speech as the final part of making our alliance. I wasn't one that was great at speeches, but I could probably manage. The day finally came and I was now standing in front of a giant crowd. Hello everyone, my name is Rimuru Tempest. I am the leader of the Jura Tempest Federation. After defeating the Orc Lord by unifying the forest, we have decided to build a city of our own. With this, we intend to create friendly relationships with non-monster races to help improve both our city and yours as well. Ever since humanity and monster have existed, they have fought with each other, stopping both of them from progressing. Now, with our nation as a mediator, we hope to see the growth and prosperity that can come from our alliance. Your king, in order to protect his kingdom, sent representatives to stop the Orc Lord. It was then that he discovered us, and after meeting us we formed this pact. Even if you do not trust monsters, I would hope you trust the judgment of your king. With the roads currently being built to connect our two cities, I would like to send an invitation to those of you who are curious to visit our city. All that we require is that you treat us with the same respect you treat a fellow non-monster, and we will also respect you. It is my hope that you will see this as the chance to finally end the undeclared war between monsters and non-monsters. The chance for the Jura Forest to offer safe passage to anyone. That is all. Chapter 20, Yuki Kagurazaka. We spent a few days on Dwarven before coming back to Tempest. I had called for Caval's team to take me to Bloom Mund so I could get my adventurer's card to enter Inglisia and the Summon Demon skill. And I might as well gain trading relations with Bloom Mund. Even if I was away, I could teleport myself back here regularly along the trip, so the goodbyes didn't take so long. I gave a few orders and left with them a tiny Rimuru slime clone they could use to communicate with me more easily. Once all preparations were done, I got ready to leave Tempest for a bit. It was a bit exciting to explore more of the world, so I had even commissioned my own adventurer's outfit. And since I was heading toward Bloom Mund and Inglisia, I changed to my human form. Horns kind of got in the way of Shizu's mask. Image here. Now, remember to inform me if anything bad happens. We know that Falmouth might be planning something, so keep me in contact with all the information you gather. I should be back fairly often using my teleportation, so I can keep on naming the ones I have left, but also to visit. Also. We know, Shana interrupted with a smile. Sometimes you worry too much, we are pretty strong so we can take care of ourselves. Shana is right, if anything comes our way we will just destroy it until there is nothing left. Shan added. Alright, I trust you. In that case, we shall be heading off. Once our final goodbyes were done, Caval's team and I mounted some Tempest wolves and prepared to leave. We had built a wagon, but I wanted to experience going at a fast speed, so I had even enhanced the wolves by making all of us practically weightless using gravity magic. Everyone ready? Let's go. With those words, we disappeared. It surprisingly didn't take so long to travel from Tempest to Bloom Mund. With the help of our Tempest wolves and the good amount of road that had been built, we had made it there in just 2 days. Bloom Mund looked like your average fantasy city. It hadn't gotten as advanced as Inglisia yet. Once we got there, we stopped for food and headed directly towards Fuse's office. In there I was able to get a B-rank adventurer card and a meeting with the king. I had also requested a private meeting with Jigus, the person who had summoned the demon. In the end, I made a trading alliance with Bloom Mund. They would help spread the word about our kingdom and the kind of products we could offer. I also offered to build the road that would connect from Bloom Mund to Tempest. We offered the protection of those who traveled in it, and they would give us payment for the protection we offered on the road. Due to the great location of Tempest, the future roads that would be built that would connect a lot of kingdoms, and a little bit of help from my charm skill, I was able to get quite a good deal. I had also proposed the construction of a guild building in Tempest so adventurers could join, receive quests, or return completed quests and materials. However, it appeared I would need Yuki's approval for that. They had tried to rope me into a mutual protection agreement, but I respectfully declined. I did mention that if our friendly relationships continued in the future, we could talk about the protection offered by Tempest again. I also showcased some of the high potions that we could provide and kept the full potions we had managed to create a secret. I knew how much trouble Tempest could get in if the information that we were able to create full potions got out. We needed to make sure we could deal with the fallout it would bring before we revealed it. With the talks with the king done, I went to meet with Jigus. We had set up a private room where we could talk. Thanks to the personal request that Fuse had given, I was showcased his different summoning spells. Report. Summoning magic summon demon has been successfully analyzed. I left a teleportation circle on Fuse's office for easier travel in the future, and now that all I needed to do in Bloom Mund was done, we departed towards Inglizia. Once we entered Inglizia, I said my goodbyes to Caval's group and the Tempest wolves that were with them returned to Tempest. I went to the Free Guild office and requested a meeting with Yuki Kagurazaka. Giving a letter that Fuse had written, I was taken to an office to wait for his arrival. I had planned the conversation with Great Sage in order to get him to call Hinata on me. I needed to talk to her, and I needed to use Analyze on her usurper. I had taken off my mask, and due to my more masculine appearance, I only looked like I was related to Shizu. Time to win an Oscar. At that moment a young man walked into the room. He had brown hair and light brown eyes. He looked to be around high school age. Welcome, he smiled. I am Grandmaster Yuki Kagurazaka. Feel free to just call me Yuki though. It is nice to meet you, Rimuru. It is nice to meet you too, Mr. Yuki. I am Rimuru Tempest, leader of the newly built city Tempest in the forest of Jura. Feel free to just call me Rimuru too. In the letter Fuse stated that you were a monster, however, if I am being honest, you do not look like one. Oh, that is thanks to the skill I got when I came to this world. It is called shapeshift. Sadly, it just allows me to change my form and use the natural skills of the species like spit venom if I copy a snake. After talking to Miss Shizu, I feel like my skill isn't of much use compared to other otherworlders. In truth, in my base form, I am a slime. I modeled my human form after her since it was too hard to create my own body from just memory alone, I said as I turned into a slime and back. Wait, you said you are an otherworlder? And you have met Miss Shizu? I could tell the familiarities in your face, yet I thought it might just be a coincidence. Oh yes, I am not from this world just like you. I met Shizu not too long after I came to this world. She helped me figure out my situation, but sadly she passed away not too long after. It appears that she was getting close to losing control of her powers, so she gave up her life in order not to lose control. Since she helped me out so much, I agreed to come here to take care of the children in the school and try my best to rescue them if I can. That is why I wanted to meet you, to request you to allow me to teach in the school. Well, I do not see why not. But why don't we get to know each other a little bit better first? Why don't you tell me how you became the leader of the forest? Oh yes, forgive me if I am not that great at talking and don't explain properly. You know, the life of slime is a bit rough. You should have seen me when I came to this world. No limbs, no eyes, I felt like I was in a coma. Learning how to move in a gelatinous body was not so easy. If it wasn't because my slime body is pretty good at controlling magicules, I probably would have been eaten by some random monster before I learned how to see, monster perks and all of that. Anyways, I got a bit off track. It all started like this. After that I began to tell a modified version of events to Yuki, not giving too much important information away. And after the fight, I used my dissolve skill I have as a slime and ate the scary orc lord. That made me a bit stronger. With that, our friendly conversations followed. If I didn't know the true him, I might have honestly fallen for his act. We agreed to become friends and I requested for permission to build a guild in my country, which he agreed. These talks continued for a while until we parted ways. I did mention a bit more how horrible the time I spent before I got a humanoid form was and how stressed out that had left me. Telling him how good of a listener he was and thanking him for allowing me to unload my troubles. I was led to the school by an assistant and showed my room in the school. My only hope is that I was able to convince him of some of what I had said and not created too many suspicions against me. I didn't even bother to attempt to use charm or commander's aura to make me appear more trustworthy, as I knew he would be immune to them. Tomorrow would be my first day as a teacher.
Thanks for listening.